Hello, sweet friends. This is Gina, and welcome to the Rebookery channel. This is a process video that I am doing not in a journal. This is actually a little bit different than what I normally do. I normally journal in a journal. But on this one, I'm going to journal on just a couple separate sheets of paper because I'm going to put this into a journal a little later. It's this big plan that I have, and for whatever reason I just woke up today and felt like I really had this memory in my head, and I wanted to get it down, and I know it's going to go in this journal that I'm going to put together at a later date. So what I'm doing right now is going through a sewing box where I've collected all of my ephemera from my grandmother's and my grandfather's. And so I've just kind of put it all in this sewing basket so that I have it whenever I want to work on this project. I'll have all of those things together. So I just pulled some photos and a couple of pieces of ephemera to document a memory of my grandma on my mom's side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to piece these two background papers together. They're just some book pages that I've done some painting on. And the time period that I'm going to do this memory from is in the 70s. And so I pulled some polyester, and these are just polyester scraps that I got in some Happy Mail, and I've just been wanting to use them. My grandma, the grandma that I'm going to do this spread about, her favorite color is yellow. So that yellow polyester really reminds me of her, and so that's what I'm going to use. So what got me going on this memory was I've been doing a lot of cleaning, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have too, with all the time we've had at home. And I found this image of this little girl. It was in a cookbook, a Betty Crocker boys and girls cookbook. And the image was of this little girl that looked kind of like me, and she was washing dishes. And the thing is that I swear at least once a day, because I am always washing dishes. We have a dishwasher, but I'm always washing dishes. And I'm always complaining about it too. But at least once a day, I think to myself, I am so glad my grandma taught me how to wash dishes, because she did. Now, when she taught me how to wash dishes, and she taught my brother, of course, we thought it was play. Like, we thought it was the most fun thing in the whole wide world. And to be quite honest, we were a couple of jackasses whenever we would wash dishes, because we would get soap and water everywhere. Again, we thought it was play. But we washed dishes, and we loved washing dishes, and we loved eating at our grandma's, because we ate at our grandma's quite a bit. We spent a lot of time with our grandparents, and the best part was always washing the dishes. Now, my favorite part was washing the dishes by myself. I did not want my brother to bother me, because when he bothered me, things got messy. So, me being the bossy older sister, I would always get mad if he got to wash the dishes with us or with me. But my favorite thing was when it was just my grandma and I washing the dishes, because we actually really washed them, other than when my brother and I did it when we played. So anyway, I wanted to document that. And I knew that I had this coupon because another wonderful person sent me some vintage coupons, and I knew there was one that was about dish soap. And I can remember the dish soap that we used. We used Joy, or we would use Ajax. And typically it was Ajax, because I also remember that we would not only use Ajax for washing dishes, but we would also use it for when we would go take a bath at my grandma's, and we'd make bubble bath. So I was hoping there was an Ajax coupon, and sure enough, there was. So I knew I wanted to use that. And then I pulled I don't know, it was like a voucher or something for a grocery store. But the reason why I pulled it was because it had the name of a town that my grandma lived in. And it was actually something from her. I had, when she passed away, I had gotten a box of her belongings, and this little coupon was in there. And so I wanted to use that. And so what you just saw me doing was I was moving it down so that the name of the town would show through. And I couldn't figure out what picture I wanted to use because, of course, I didn't have a picture of my grandma teaching us how to wash dishes. But I did have this picture of my brother and I. And we were sitting, it's the cutest picture in the world. We were sitting at the table at my grandma's house. And she had pork chops on the table and corn on the cob and I'm sure mashed potatoes and gravy and bread. And we're sitting there waiting to eat. And it was my grandma's dishes and the table that she had. And I love that picture. And my brother and I were really little. So I'm going to use that picture because this would have been one of the many times that we would have gotten to wash the dishes after we ate. So this is the book I was talking about. This is a cookbook called Betty Crocker Cooking, Boys and Girls Cooking. I've got several copies of it. This one was falling apart, so it was great for me to use to cut out images. And so I was just kind of looking for, I spent a lot of time trying to find something to fill that space. So I'm looking for something to fill that dead space. And you can see that dead space. It's kind of on the left-hand side. It's underneath the picture. I just cannot figure out what I want to put there. I tried putting, again, this is one of those videos where it probably was like 3 hours of video, but I got it down to 14 minutes because I cut so much out. I was trying to put in pictures of my grandma. I was trying to find book text. I was trying to find images. I think I even cut out like a picture of some vintage salt and pepper shakers from that cookbook. I tried to put it on there and nothing was working. My journaling, I'm just not a fan of me sitting down and writing a story. I just have never journaled that way. I never really scrapbooked that way. And the pages or the scrapbook, layouts that I did where I did sit down and journal it, they're cringy. Like I read them and I cringe. Not because they're bad, but because I just do not embrace my own voice. And it always seems so, so put together, kind of plasticky, kind of fake. It doesn't sound like me. So I always like to use book text because I can convey my message, but I don't have to use the literal words in my mouth. I can use a book text and then it leaves a lot for the imagination. So I'm trying to find some book text and I do find some. It's in my old favorite tattered Dick and Jane book, and I just changed a couple of things. I think it says grandmother, and so I changed grandmother to grandma because we didn't call her grandmother. We called her grandma, or actually we called her Grammy as we got older. And I also saw in that cookbook there was a little sentence that said something about we always leave the kitchen clean, which is quite a joke because because I think when my brother and I got done cleaning the dishes, the kitchen was actually dirtier than it was before. And I'm sure my grandma had to go back and do lots of rewashing of the dishes. So there's the text that I'm going to use. And then I start to piece in where I'm going to put those things, but I want to add some images because I feel like right now everything's kind of flat and I need something to round out the visuals and the images and the pictures that I've got. And so I found that really cool fork and spoon. And I thought that would be kind of neat to put. I started to put it in the upper right hand or the upper left hand corner where it was on the actual page in the book. But then I realized I liked it down at the bottom where it kind of anchored the bottom. And so, yeah, that's where I end up and put it. And I'm still just kind of fumbling around here trying to figure out what do I want to do? How can I make this all kind of come together? And so I get out my my gel pens and I just start drawing circles and dots, because the best part by far of the dishwashing experience or extravaganza, I guess, was the bubbles. And it goes back to that Ajax soap. And my God, my brother and I would have soap everywhere. We'd have soap everywhere. We'd have bubbles everywhere. And so I'm going to start trying to put bubbles on, but I'm not going to try to draw them as bubbles. I'm just going to draw them as circles and dots. And I spent a lot of time doing this. Of course, I edited a ton of it out, and I fast forwarded quite a bit, but it was actually really therapeutic to do. And I really loved just the process because I was just doing a lot of thinking as I was doing the bubbles. So I first started off with this yellow, just because my grandma's favorite color was yellow, but also the Ajax soap. I remember it was yellow. And then I decide from that yellow, I'm going to go into just more detailed bubbles, and that's when I pull in the gel pen. But as I'm doing this, it just really made me think a lot about this memory, and more pieces came to my mind as I was doing all these bubbles. And from there, I was able to, and you'll see here in just a minute, I was able to put some of my own words and some of my own journaling down. And I kind of needed that time just to do what I call pen work. And then in that time where I was doing the pen work, I let my mind kind of just go back to the memory. And what came from that was the words that I wanted to use as my journaling. And so I'm going to grab a couple some label stickers, because I do want this journaling to set up on top of the rest of the layout so that it can be read. And so just tearing them up and taping them on. And then I'll go through and add my journaling. And so once I'm done with that, I think I'm done with the whole layout. And I really, really love it. I love the colors. I love how the pink and the yellow play together. I think I go through and I add a few more details. I think I use a little bit more of some gel pens, and I drew in some details and stuff. And then I have these old rub-on letters, and so I went and on top of the photo, I put the initial for my brother, which was an A, and the initial for me, which was a G. And so that's kind of how I finished it. As I was trying to figure out, as I was coming up with like what I wanted my journaling to say, I kind of thought, okay, this would be a kind of a cool title. So going back to my old scrapbook ways, whenever you scrapbooked, you always had a title. And so I thought, okay, doing the dirty dishes, because I remember saying that, Grandma, can I do the dirty dishes? And I have a ton of these old alphabet stickers, and I had some blue sparkly ones, and oh my gosh, perfect. So that's what I put on there, was doing the dirty dishes. And so yeah, I loved it, and it's really cool, and I'm just going to let it sit probably with that sewing basket, and once I get ready to really tackle that project, it will actually go into that journal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys got inspired. It's a little bit different than what I've been posting. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you are healthy and happy. I do want to say one thing. I appreciate you guys so much, and one of the things I really, really appreciate is your kindness. I know that not every one of my videos is award-winning, and that's okay, because it's YouTube, and I'm just showing you my process, and my process is just kind of what it is. But I appreciate that if there's something you don't like, you don't feel the need to point out to me things that maybe irritated you. And I appreciate your kindness. I really, really love that. In a world where so much negative stuff is going on, it's great to know that we can be each other's friends and we can be kind to one another and we can support each other with love and compassion and understanding. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for that. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.